Hey guys, how are you? Wonderful Wednesday to everyone. Welcome to our fantastic webinar live event today. Thanks for finding the time. Please give me the okay that you can hear me. It's Vladimir now who is speaking. So please confirm you can hear my voice and see Chris screen on the same time. Yep, beautiful. Perfect. So once again, thank you very much and welcome. This webinar today we host well, a good friend of mine and a great trader, and you will see that by yourself today. And I would like to present you Chris Swarczyk. Chris, please say hello.
Hello there. Hi, Vladimir. Hi, everyone.
Good. We can hear you well, so thank you for confirming, guys. Quick introduction. I know Chris for a long time now. Is one of the main guys behind the Elite CurrenSea that I presented to the community a while ago. And today he and Mislav will present you the latest, from my point of view, fantastic creation of them, the Ultima robot, the Ultima EA. This is a fully automated trading solution. But I would like, before we start, to say that completely transparent, so no one has wrong expectations or anything like that. It's not going to be any of these 97 bucks robots that you see online, any fake promises or anything like that. So if for whatever the reason is you are here for any holy grail solution or anything like that, it's not one of these. So can simply not waste your time. If you are seriously about to hear what is the Ultima EA and what solution it brings to traders, then stay here and Chris would present it now. And just one thing, at the end of the live event, I will upload the recording to the YouTube channel and I would publish that there. So you would be able to go and watch the recording as well if you need. For all those of you who are watching the recording, then for all the information and a direct access to the Ultima EA, please follow the link below the video in the description and in the pinned comment. And now, Chris, it's all yours. Good luck and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vladimir, for the lovely introduction there, and yeah, great stuff. I appreciate our friendship already for years going back, and yeah, we have a great cooperation going on. So I'm going to talk, friends here, traders out there, about the Ultima Expert Advisor, which is an automated trading system for the Forex market on the MetaTrader 4 MT4 platform. It's an expert advisor that takes care of entries, exits, and trade management as well. So that's basically the quick introduction right there, so that you know what to expect. It is based on a solid strategy, a robust strategy that is in line with the market movements very well. And we're going to explain everything from A to Z, live trading and backtesting. But first of all, I want to introduce the creator of the Ultima EA, which is Mislav Nikolic, who has been really working so hard on all these aspects, all these details, from the special filter rules to the targeting tool, basically to the special dynamic trade management stuff. So it's really phenomenal, and I think you're going to see that in this presentation. So Mislav did a great job with this Ultima EA. I helped him where I could, where with my experience, I tried to help at spots where I was able to. So we're going to discuss all the results, of course, the live results that we've had. We've been trading it live for almost a year now. We've done back testing for way more than that, for more than 10 years. So there's very robust back testing process that we'll explain as well. We're going to explain the EA, the strategy, parts of the strategies at least, and of course how you can join. All of that coming up in this live webinar. All right. So now, first of all, the good stuff. We're going to kick off right away with the live results, because ultimately, when you look at, of course, trading solutions, and in this case, automated trading solutions, we want to, of course, see what kind of performance does it have, what kind of track record does it have, what kind of edge does it have. That's all logical. So here you can see one of the longest accounts we have, close to a year here of live trading. Now, this is with medium risk, what we consider is 3% risk per setup, and it has a gain of 325% and a drawdown of 22.9%. We started with $10,000 account, and it's at 42,500. You can see all of that information here. The profit, therefore, $32,500, adding up to that 325%. So very impressive in our view, fully automated. So it's not something that you have to manage, monitor, trade, look for entries, look for exits. All of that is done by that expert advisor. So in this case, you can see we had some great moves up here on the account, but even in between these two spikes, don't underestimate these moves here. Actually, right here, these are actually gains of 50%. They look small because of the big spikes before and after, but they're actually substantial account moves from plus 80% to plus 140%, from plus 100 to plus 150%. These are not small moves either. It just relatively looks a little bit slower, but these are substantial gains as well. So that's one of our accounts. We got other accounts as well that I'm going to show here, and I will. You can always access the MyFX book links. This is on MyFX book, by the way, fully verified, and also the trading privilege is fully verified. You can find them on MyFX book. Nothing to hide here. Two other accounts that we've been trading. One of them we started at the beginning of 2020. In the left upper corner is up 204%. Now, I have to admit, this is not necessarily every month is going to be like that, of course. Okay, so we're going to be very clear and very honest with you what to expect. It is not to say that this is the standard for every month, but sometimes you got accelerations, and we started an account where we had such acceleration, and that's why we had such a big boost at this moment. This is not to say that every month is going to be like this. We're going to share what you can expect on a monthly basis, plus minus, looking at back testing. But this had a great start, as you can see. Drawdown is on, a little bit too low, in the sense that the drawdown is typically higher, because both of these accounts are traded with 5% risk per setup. Now you might wonder why take so much risk per setup, and that's because when we did back testing and we looked at the results in the past, the losing streak with Ultima EA is very low. So we are able to trade it with that much risk, because even with that much risk, we are not, we are not going into massive drawdowns. We can still keep the account alive. So this is all with 5% risk per setup, because the losing streak is so low. So as you can see, though, with longer history, the drawdown is a little bit higher, 55%. Now, not every trader will want such a high drawdown. That's fully up to you, whether you trade with 5% risk and have a bit of, bigger drawdown but more gains, or you take a little bit more conservative route. You go with a smaller drawdown and a little bit less gain, right? That depends on your kind of risk appetite, and that every trader can decide that for themselves. Okay, so in any case, though, you see massive gains, beautiful results here, and the profits, of course, nicely mentioned in green. Now, this is Mislav's account. He started with, now as you can see here, my deposit was a little bit higher, and you can see that Mislav started with a small account. This is not necessarily only for big or only for small accounts, right? You can have small accounts and the growth is just as impressive, or even more. Mislav's account is up 620%, started a little bit earlier than me, and he started with 2,383 euros. Okay, you can see it right here. That's the deposit. Okay, and his account is above 17,000 euros. This is, I think, in 9 months time, if I remember correctly, and it is also with a 5% risk setup approach. So a little bit, on the higher aggressivity. 5% risk, of course, is more aggressive than 3%, but you can see that the gains are well worth that approach. If you like that style, you can also go once again with lower risk. Let me get back to the presentation. All right, so yes, his account all the way up at 17,000. So whether you have a smaller or a bigger account, that doesn't matter. You can catch these impressive gains, as you can see. Now, in the image below, you see that we're trading the Euro dollar 15-minute chart. You can see that we had a series of great wins, TPs being hit, a couple of losses. Now, that's going to vary, right? Because you also see that the account is sometimes going sideways, sometimes making a little bit of drawdown. So sometimes you're going to have periods where you have more losses. But on average, you're going to have about 55-60% win rate. Now, we've been trading, other traders have been trading this already in 2020, and they are impressed. As you can see right here, some of the reviews, just some, because there are more you can find on a Forex Peace Army already. But yes, take a look here on the left. I have spent the last 2 days wondering how Ultima would handle the expected loss. To say I'm impressed would be a serious understatement. I was fascinated by the trades it made in the last 48 hours. Whoever developed that, which is Mislav, is a genius. Congrats to all. In the middle here, it's unbelievable. This is a solution for my weakness, my trading psychology weakness. And then above here in the screenshot, you say there's a trader who said, I just started in January, I'm up 200% profit. It's just remarkable. And yeah, just very impressed, truly amazed, he writes here. And these are other traders, not us, saying this, that they're very impressed, okay? So what is Ultima EA? So we showed the live results, and we showed, we can add the MyFX book links, by the way, in the video description. It's not a problem, so you can verify that for yourself, by the way. So Ultima, we're going to discuss the strategy a little bit more, parts of the strategy, okay, a little bit more later on. First of all, some quick info. So it's based on solid methods. It's not some funky, funny, odd, weird EA that it is trying to catch some discrepancy. No, it's based on solid strategy methods with solid ideas that have a forward-looking approach rather than curve fitting something in the past. It's not like that. We always use stop loss, and it's always using a take profit. All right, so this is not some funky business. It's a serious way of trading. We got average 1 setup per day, so it's not some extreme scalping approach either. All right. Now, we did a lot of backtesting, and of course, that doesn't guarantee anything for the future necessarily, but what we do think is that it gives us the odds in our favor in the long run. This approach is built for the long run. We are not aiming for daily, weekly, or even monthly goals. We want to build our account up in the long run. That means 6 to 12 months, looking at even years. Okay, that's the focus. That's the goal of this trading strategy. That's what Mislav wanted to achieve. So that backtesting does give us a lot of data, does give us a lot of information. And that, of course, helps us with the confidence that we have to trade it as we do, and the live results are showing the benefit of that. So with different risk, okay, 0.5, let me show you here. 0.5, 1%, 3%, 5%. Basically, you'll get higher gains, of course, as you risk more, but the drawdown generally also will be higher. Sorry, as I use my drawing tool, I exit the presentation somehow, so I'll try not to use it too much, okay? So if you don't like higher drawdowns, you can actually trade it with 1% risk, the Euro dollar 50-minute chart, and the last 2.5 years of the backtesting would have provided 538% return with a 13.9% drawdown. So that's a great ratio, and the drawdown is not extreme or not that big at all, right? Very modest, very conservative drawdown. Even half of the drawdown is possible if you go with 0.5% risk per setup. Of course, the gains are lower too. You can go with a medium approach and take 3% of risk per setup, and with the last 2.5 years of trading would have made a whopping 12,000%. and only a drawdown of 36%. And if you go for the max risk of 5% setup, 5% risk per setup, then, well, I can't even read that number. It's so big, right? But that's a whopping number. It's more than 100,000%. And the drawdown, historical drawdown, was only 54%. Now, some of you might say, well, 54% drawdown is quite large. True, but look at the gain, right? So that depends. For us, that's worth it. That's worth the risk. That's what we are looking for. That's what we're trading. So we're trading 3 and 5% risk per setup. We have multiple accounts with these settings. But we're honest here and say that's not for everyone. If you're more risk conservative, you can go for the lower two approaches as well, and you'll have a great gain versus drawdown ratio. So this is the overview. Now, before we dive into the distribution of the backtesting, what we see with live trading results per month, I want to explain the process of the backtesting, because you might be looking at this and saying, okay, but how did you do that, right? So I want to take any skepticism away first, and discuss the process quickly. So Mislav used 99.9% modeling accuracy. This is not some backtesting that was done with 90%. If you have done testing before, you know that basically 90% doesn't show the reality of the past. 99.9 means that it's a very accurate testing, that the EA trades that were taken would have probably been the real trades in the past. So there's a very high accuracy in this testing. It was also with real variable spread, and we used Dukascopy and Alpari for the back testing, looking back more than a decade and in years for the 50-minute chart, and more than a decade for the hourly chart. So sturdy periods of time, and not curve fitting the results. Of course, optimizing it at logical spots, but the rules are forward-looking, not backward-looking. Okay, so very sturdy process, very reliable process, very accurate process. Now, we're going to take a look at all the results here, so you have an idea about not only the end results, but how would the results look like from a monthly perspective. Okay, this is with 0.5 risk per setup. So you can see, and then we'll dive into the higher risk approaches. So first of all, looking at the advanced statistics from my FX book in the right lower corner, 538 trades in those 2.5 years, the win rate averaging about 55%, almost 8,200 pips, about 54 pips average win, 35 pip average loss, and basically average trade length of 1 day, profit factor almost 1.93. So very impressive stats, and you can see here how the equity curve looks like. Now the curve, as you can see, has some moments where it spikes up, other moments where it kind of moves up a little bit slower, and of course some moments where there's some drawdown here or a little bit of a sideways movement perhaps. But ultimately the drawdown with 0.5 risk per setup is only 7%, and a gain of 163%. The distribution is on the left. The three images show 2017, 2018, and 2019. And as you can see with this risk, basically a couple of months had loss, but most months were in profit, and the biggest one was 25%. Now, if we look at slightly more risk, 1% risk per setup, basically the stats more or less stay the same in advanced stats, okay? As far as I can see, it is plus minus the same. What changes, of course, is the drawdown. It goes to 14%, and of course the gain, it goes much further, up to 538%. And if you look at the distribution on the left, we see that the gains are higher, all right, and the loss is slightly more. The biggest loss is minus 4% in 1 month, all right, of this 2.5 years. Now moving forward to 3% risk per setup, we have seen even bigger gains, 70% here. I blocked out this one loss, but Let me quickly exit and move it lower so we can see that. I don't want to, there we go, minus 13, I think it is. So of course, the monthly distribution, we see bigger profits with 3% of risk per setup, slightly bigger losses, of course, as well, sometimes minus 13% indeed. But generally speaking, you can see that some months are break even, a few months losses, some months with small wins, and some months with very substantial wins. That's kind of the distribution that we see with the Euro-dollar 15-minute chart. And then last but not least, the 5% of risk per setup. This is the way of really building the account, in our view, because the gains are exponential. Now, basically, the drawdown, of course, is bigger, but looking at the gains, well, that ratio is super impressive. Looking at the gains here, you see, anything from 82, 70%, 70, 157%. Now, sometimes the losses are a little bit bigger, 23%, 15%. But overall speaking, you can see that about 6 months are in loss and a couple of smaller wins like 2% here and 7%. And then some of the, let's say, medium wins like 20, 40%, but that's still a huge amount as well. Now, you got to keep in mind that this is long-term, right? So if sometimes if you start here and you see these 3 months, you might not be that impressed. Just being honest here, right? Because you had a small loss, then a small win, and then a loss. So after 3 months, you're like, it's not going anywhere. But the month after that, look at that, 121%. So that's why we always emphasize the 6 to 12 month viewing spot and not to look at it at a month-to-month basis or a week-to-week basis or a day-to-day basis, right? This is long-term because at times the account might not go that fast, but then you will get to the spot that in the long run we expect that the odds are in our favor that eventually we'll get a bigger a profit in one of these months in those six months. Okay, so these are the stats, bit of a distribution that you can expect. Now, what if we took an account and just let it run? What will happen? Well, in that case, in the last 2.5 years, with the Euro-dollar 15-minute chart and 5% risk per setup, and leaving the profits on the account, not withdrawing everything, of course, the account went up from 1,000 to almost 1 million. I think it actually crossed 1 million, if I remember correctly. So that's very impressive. Now, would I do that? Would I actually keep it to 1 million and not withdraw any profit? No, I would withdraw profit, but this is just to show the potential. I probably would withdraw profit at some point, right? But it does show the potential and how much the account can grow with these percentages and with this risk, with this strategy. All right, so it's very impressive, and these streaks are amazing sometimes. In fact, in 2020, this account even grew further, not way past 1 million, actually going into 2 million, if I remember correctly, if the profits are left on the account. If, for instance, you would have gone with 225,000, it would now be on a 1.5 million. That's the kind of growth we see. So it's very impressive. We did other tests as well, 10,000 account going up to 3 million, 1,000 to 2.5 million, a pound dollar account with the 1 hour chart from 1K to 800K, but that's in 5 years. 1 hour chart is a little bit slower. So very impressive back testing, showing the potential, of course, and everyone would have to consider their own risk appetite if they would take profit at some point, of course, logically. But here you can see that in the back testing results. So you can see it for your own eyes. This is actually 7-figure number right here. So yeah, here you can see the stats in more detail. Modeling quality, very important, 99.9%. And here you can see the final figure there, very close to that 1 million. Profit factor, the win rate as well, 55 to 60%. And you see more of the stats that I already mentioned before with regard to the average win. All right, you can see consecutive wins, 17, consecutive losses, 6. So that's why we feel comfortable with trading it with a bigger risk per setup, is because we don't see many consecutive losses in a row. And actually, this win record was shattered this year, because this is back testing from mid 2017 to end 2019. This win rate, this win streak was actually broken in 2020 already with, I think, I don't know how many, I think 20, I didn't count, but I think already like 25 or so. So that's very impressive. Here you see the results for a 10K account, going up even further than that. The stats are more or less the same. You see the drawdown about 49% there. Now, those are approaches with maximum trades per day. If we don't have any maximum trades per day, the risk is a little bit bigger. Drawdown might be slightly more, but the growth could be higher as well. So this is an approach here that is even a tad more risky, but for those that like to be a little bit more daring, we offer this, or it's possible to do it this way as well. All right, no maximum trade per day, and you can see that the gains could be potentially more. All right, so we got all kind of approaches for all different risk appetites basically. And for those that are bigger accounts, there's also the pound dollar 1 hour chart, and you can see that this is less risky because of the fact that it's a little bit slower. It's tested for longer and for a decade, and we see basically that generally speaking, drawdown a little bit lower, but gains just as impressive, but just a little bit slower. The count is not going to grow as fast as with your dollar 15-minute chart. Okay, so all right, yeah, we can show, we got someone asking about the MyFX book, and if we can show it, we can do that actually, no problem, of course. So before I dive into the strategy, let me do that right now then. All right, so that you can see it live. It's maybe, the screenshot is maybe not the same. So let's do that right now. And then we'll dive into the strategy. All right, so let me open that. I didn't have it open, but that takes 2 seconds. And you can see it for yourself. Let's see. Let's see if there are any questions as well before we dive into the strategy part. Okay, here are some of the accounts I mentioned, right? So this is my account. I don't have, let's see, do I have Misov's accounts? I think I have it too, by the way. I'll open that one as well. This is my account, my personal account, okay? So basically, yeah, it's the same as the screenshot, but you can see the MyFX book link here. All right, just full transparency, fully being open here. You can see we're scrolling lower. And here we go in 2019. All right, I started in August. And it was a great spike up, and then a great in September as well. Now, October, November, look, that can happen. Things slow down a little bit, then December recovered. And 2020, let's take a look at that. January recovered, and then we had an excellent, wonderful February. As you can see, 177%. Yeah, very happy about that, of course. But basically, you see roughly the same as I indicated here. The average trade length is somehow a little bit longer, but that could just be a rounding, a question of a rounding factor. It only shows 1 or 2, so if it's 1.4 or 1.6, that could be the difference. Otherwise, it's exactly the same, but still wanted to show you the live thing in case you were still skeptical, just in case. And you have all the right to be, of course, informed about everything here. So there you go. This is the 3% risk account, the one with the $10,000. This is my personal account that started with 17,500 euros. I also withdrew money, by the way. I'm being fully honest here. In this case, I withdrew that profit. This hasn't been withdrawn yet. This is still running, 32K, as you can see. This one is open longer. All right, this is going back almost a year now, and it's slightly less profit because it's also using a less risk. Okay, and let's open the third one that we started in 2020. There we go. All right, nothing new. It's exactly as the screenshot, but still, here you go. You can see it for your own live eyes here, 166%, 54 trades because it started in 2020 and beginning 2020 here, as you can see, very impressive gain. Everything is verified. And let me see if I can find also, yes, I found it, great. And also Mislav's account, I have here all four. There we go, 620%, very impressive. 2,300 euros start. And this one is also about 9 months live. All right, there we go. So just in case, there you have all of the information. Great stuff. Let's go back here. Let's see if you see this. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the strategy. Now, we're not going to go from A to Z here. We're going to just indicate roughly what the strategy is about, so you have a good idea, a good foundation. You know, what is it doing? So, okay, first of all, this is a trend strategy, but I would say it's a smart trend strategy. It's looking for breakouts, but it does it in a smart way. It has very refined filters that look for breakouts at the right spots. I personally, from back testing, noticed that breakout strategies, I mean, maybe others have better win records with breakout strategies, but I personally noticed like 30 to 35% win rate with breakouts. This strategy with the special filters that Mislav developed pushes that up all the way to 55 to 60% win rate. So that's really a great win rate for breakout trend strategies. So I think those special filters really do a great role in that. We use moving averages, we use fibs, and basically special trade, basically price swings and price volatility there to have a dynamic trade management. So that means that depending on how price develops, the strategy is going to adapt to that when needed. Not right away, not after a minute, of course. It's going to give the time for trades to develop, but at the right moments, it is going to actually be dynamic, and it's going to be changing stop losses and TPs and moving to break even at the right moment. So that's what fascinates me personally the most, and which I really love about that is it's an EA that is dynamic at the same time, like a real trader could and would. And I think that really impresses me probably the most. There are some other cool things that I think should be noted, which is the special Fibonacci target tool indicator, which is automated and is integrated in this EA, and that's how the exits are done. And what is very interesting is that at the right times, the strategy is going to aim for big wins and uses the fib levels for the right exits, and that's quite impressive how the exiting is done at the targets. And whereas if the environment is more rangy or counter trend, the EA is going to aim for smaller wins. So balancing those small wins versus big wins at times, I think, is another edge that this strategy has and the EA has, because at the right moments, it could get those bigger wins that pushes the account forward. So that's what I really appreciate about the strategy the most, is these four things here on the right. And the stealth pending orders as well. Now here you see some examples. You see some sell signals for the euro dollar 50-minute chart here, and you see the results here at the bottom. I won't point to it because otherwise this bar pops up, but you can see the trades at the bottom. And you can see we're looking to trade with the flow, we're looking to trade with the trend, the momentum, and looking for pullbacks and continuations. All right, but there are special rules in place to find the spots where the odds and the probability are in our favor in the long run. Once again, we're very long-term oriented, all right, and you know, we're not focused on daily gains here. We're not promising that it will reach certain daily targets at all. Okay, we got one setup per day on average, but that means that some days we got more trades and some days we don't have trades, right? That's what this EA has. So Ultima EA here having a great reward to risk ratio, 138 pips. That's a 3.5 R2R ratio there. So that's a wonderful account push there. So if you trade that with 5% risk, right, like we do with most of our accounts, so 3.5 times 5% is 17.5% gain, right? So that's how fast sometimes things go. And that's what we saw with the account we started at the beginning of this year, and just that massive 200% push, which is not representative for all months once again, but of course, if you get them, it's a great feeling. Yeah, but that's the shortest track record. As I said, we got track records going almost, you know, back for a year now, of course. So here are just an overview of multiple trades. You know, not everything's going to be a win. Here we have a loss, but then here a win, a break even, a loss. Then a short, that is a win, break even, a couple of wins in a row. You know, that's all what can happen, right? It's not going to be a 90% win record, and it's not something that we say it will have. It's going to be 55, 60%, but sometimes we're going to have great win streaks. I mean, in 2020, we had a moment, I think, where we had like 29 wins out of 30 trades. So sometimes you get those moments where it really pushes a lot. So yeah, that's a quick overview. So we're going to explain more in just a second how to start. Is it worth it if you have a lower account, by the way? I'm going to explain all of that later on, so stick with us. But I did want to explain already how you can join, okay? Because I know time is of the essence and some of you might be wanting to push off. So there's a lot of stuff I still want to explain, but here you got an overview of how to join with the prices, and here how to join, okay? So let me explain both. First of all, it's a rental subscription. So you rent the EA for 6 months or a year. We don't have anything less, because if we have a monthly subscription, then it's logical that traders are going to analyze, or let's say they're going to evaluate the Ultima EA in that month. And in a month, we don't know what the result could be. It could be break even, it could be a small loss, it could be a great win, but it's going to fluctuate. So we don't want that focus on 1 month. That's why we have subscription options. The smallest one is 6 months, right? We personally think that a year is better, but 6 months is the minimum. So we offer 6 months as an entry level. We think that 1 year is optimal and is better, and that's why we give a discount for that, because we think that this is the best kind of way of looking at it. So that's why we have a yearly rental subscription option here for Ultima EA. And for those, that's for one account. And for those that want to trade it on one demo and one live account for both the Eurodollar 15 or 50-minute charts in general and 60-minute charts in general. So that's 2 demos and 2 live accounts, 1 demo, 1 live account for 50-minute world, 1 demo, 1 live account for 60-minute world, okay? But those that want twice that, you have the third option here, okay? So that's double that, and you get a discount for that as well, all right? So if you already say, okay, this looks so great, I want to have twice as many accounts, you have that option as well. All right, so there's a 15% discount in the next 7 days. 15% discount. All right, so make sure to capitalize on that. And yeah, it's for the first 50 traders. But this is the link and it's been added in the chat box that you can see. So feel free to click on that right now, or when you're looking at the recording. Of course, once again, 15% minus 50% off for you. All right, this is the link. Now,
Chris,
I'm predicting some questions
if you
here.
don't mind,
Sorry.
I would like to read some questions we have here about the things you presented, and then you can continue. So first of all, yes, the link directly to the Ultima is now available in the chat, so you can access to that directly from there, guys. It's for the community. So first, once again, Chris, I appreciate that we had our discussions here, and I'm very thankful that you accepted to offer a special discount for the community. So much appreciated. Thank you. And now I do want to read the questions. On which time frames does the EA have the best results?
So the best result we see is the Euro-dollar 15-minute world, but is the most aggressive account growth. But we think that the second best is the pound USD 60-minute world.
Great, thank you. And another question, a very important one, Fabrizio, thank you. Are there any settings that should be optimized, or is it already sold, optimized, and ready for use?
Great question. Yes, the default settings of the EA are the best settings that we have and that we use ourselves for live trading, and that we have used also for the back testing that we showed. So those are the default settings. They are included with the EA, and they're standard default for the traders.
Thank you. Next question, Stefan. Can you run the EA on any of the brokers' accounts, or is it anything specific?
Yes, it's available to all brokers, indeed. I mean, unless there's some broker specifics, every broker has maybe some, I don't know, maybe some don't want EAs, for instance, I don't know, but this is an EA that is accessible to all brokers. There's no limitations.
Thank you. And Adrian, is it broker another question. Is it broker specific, and do you need a VPS? So about the brokers you already answered, and about the VPS, it's important.
Don't need it. You can, EAs can be run on your own PC, but you would have to keep your PC on. And of course, if you have a VPS, or if you're going for a VPS, then you have the benefit that you can put the MT4 and EA on the VPS. So both are options.
Next question from Pavel. Does it use hedging, and does it comply to the FIFO rule, first in, first out?
So there is an element of hedging in the sense that the strategy will sometimes take a setup in the opposite direction. That does indeed occasionally occur, but it is not something that is, let me say, it's not a hedging strategy that is actively taking both sides in a very frequent way. So if the strategy rules show that the market dynamic has changed, then it will occur that sometimes the system takes a setup into the other direction. Yes. So with regard to the first in and first out, right, which I think is in the US, is that true, Vladimir? I think that you cannot have, some brokers in the US have that you cannot have the hedging, right? In the US,
I believe so. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, this particular EA, does have that aspect that it doesn't happen necessarily often, but occasionally that could occur indeed, with regard to buys and sells.
And hold on, I lost the questions. Here, from Dylan, how many currency pairs can I run with one EA?
how many currency pairs? So, well, basically, you can trade it on the 50-minute rule on one account, one live account, and one demo account. So, yeah, that's how many pairs you run it on is depends on your risk appetite, how much risk you want to put on each pair. I think that Mislav, could you put it on your dollar and pound dollar 50-minute chart and put 1% risk on both, for instance?
Mislav is self-muted.
Yes.
Sorry, I was muted. Hello, everybody. First, yes, you can trade it on both pairs actually, but then you have to lower the risk. Of course, you can't run it through both pairs with 3 or 5%. But best result was with euro dollar.
All right.
Euro.
I didn't hear you too well, but I think what you said, Mislav, is that you can do it, but you got to be careful of the that you don't over risk, right? But you could put it on if you look at if you're careful of your risk, you could have put it on 2 or 3 pairs on that time frame, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So
yes.
this Ultima can work with more pairs. We use it mainly on euro dollar, but yes, you can use it on like three or four pairs.
Yeah, indeed. As Mislav said, we personally traded on the euro dollar 50-minute chart the most or only, and the pound dollar 1 hour chart. But it's possible to add other pairs.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Mislav. Where's the next question? Okay, there was one question about the promo code. So, Chris, if you can show this slide that you have with the promo code, the answer is yes. This promo code to be inserted in the page.
Nikita said that the price discount is already incorporated. That will be visible in this link. So I hope that's correct.
You have the promo code, right?
I don't think a promo code is needed. That's what I was explained at least before the webinar. Correct. The prices are already. Yeah, promo code is not needed. The price is already, when you go to this link, the discount price is already visible.
Okay. And where's the next question for us? CM, what's the URL? In the chat window, in the GoToWebinar platform, you can see the direct link there, or this is what Chris is showing now. So that's the URL. And if you are watching the recording on available on YouTube, so we can find the direct link to the Ultima below in the description or in the pinned comment. Next question. How where is it? Sorry. Yeah, how from Zippy, how does it perform at lower leverage levels?
So if basically, let me scroll back here to sorry, let me show.
Yeah, the 0.5%.
Traded with 3% risk or 0.5% risk, for instance. Let me show you this slide again here. This one. Here you can see the differences. So if traded with lower risk, for instance, of course, it could be traded with 2% as well, by the way, right? We don't have it here, but that's possible too. We just don't have, you could even trade it with 2.5 or 1.5. Those options are, of course, also available. It's not, these are not the only 4. It's totally up to you. But we are showing the results of the 2.5 years of testing with these 4 parameters. And you can see that the gains are substantial as well. Drawdown is way lower when using, for instance, 0.5 risk per setup or 1% risk per setup. You can see that overview.
Does the 1-year subscription include VPS? I believe the answer to that would be no, right?
Correct, no.
Okay. And you were presenting the MyFX book of the pound dollar 1 hour chart, right?
No, that 1 hour chart I didn't.
There was a question about it by Max. Do you have it available?
Yes. 1 second. That is the 1 hour pound dollar is a little bit slower, and that has been traded now for about, I've been trading it for, let's see, 8 months. So that is not, 1 second. Here we go.
That's the only one you have.
Just the pound dollar 1 hour chart. So it's slightly down. It was up actually, but we're going in a little bit of a drawdown, but that's part of trading. And that's what's, what can happen sometimes. So it's slightly negative at this moment. But looking at the pound dollar 1 hour chart, you got to keep in mind that this is a slower process. We see it in backtesting too. It takes years more, to gain the gains we see with the Euro-dollar 50-minute chart. But that said, it is, we think, a little bit more sturdy for the long term. So there are advantages of this, but it's slower. So far in live trading, this is what we've seen. Yeah, that's no problem to that.
Yeah, in few months you all to the upside green. It's part of trading. You can't run away from that. It is what it is. It's ups and downs. Thank you for presenting it, Chris. Max, I hope it answers your questions. It's that's the live run currently. So that's all, Chris. That's all the questions so far. So you wanted to continue with the presentation. Thank you for answering them.
Yes, great stuff. Thank you for those questions. And yeah, I just wanted to show one more thing. It's like one of the questions I anticipated. We were thinking like, okay, like, is it worth it, right? Because you see the price and you're like, okay, I have this much for my trading account. What could I expect? So let's say $3,000 in this example. Now we went back in 2019. Now that's just, of course, 1 year, and we never know how 2020 will look like. It could be better, it could be worse. 2021 could be better, it could be worse. We don't know that. But in 2019, in any case, the first 6 months, I think a 3K account would have gone up to 23K account. And I think this is with 5% risk per setup. And a 3K account in 12 months would have gone up to 90K if, of course, once again, the profit is left on the account and accumulated like that. So that's the end, potential there when looking at 6 or 12 months in 2019. So yeah, definitely worth it from this perspective. 2019 with a 10K account, for those I have a little bit more, the result would have been 71K, 71,000, or 12 months would have been 257,000. Now, obviously, at some point, maybe after this year, taking some profit could be wise, but or could be something you want to do, and that's logical, but that's up to every trader, of course. But you can see at least here the potential in 2019 when looking at these specific amounts, because we show testing for 2.5 years, so we show the account going from a 1K to 1 million, and that's impressive, but then how does that look like from a 6 to 12 month perspective, right? So that's what you see here. What's included? So yeah, we mentioned it. There's no limitation on any pairs. There's no limitation on any brokers. It's basically available. There's one version for the 15-minute chart. There's one version for the 60-minute chart. You get our settings that we use for live trading and for back testing. That also the settings that show the account growing from 1,000 to 1 million. There's also some extra videos and PDF and support from us, from Mislav, and from Elite CurrenSea. And yeah, let's see. Sorry, this is advantages. Well, basically, the advantages. Well, it's a proven strategy with live trading. Of course, that's the main thing. That's the key thing. There's high quality back testing. It's automated. No manual things need to be done or should be done, in fact, right? So therefore, no manual errors. And it's therefore good really for, I guess, all types of traders, those that have full-time commitments to other jobs, those that are trading full-time as well, because this could be just another kind of way of approaching your trading. It could be an extra way of trading. or your full way of trading, or if you're part-time, or this is something you can always add to your trading portfolio, basically. So we do offer some choices here that you can change if you wanted to. The default settings are the ones we use, but if you want to test some other settings, we do have inputs that you can change, and of course try out some other ways of approaches. Once again, we think the advantage is trend system, but it behaves well in ranges, and I think that is one of the things that stands out, because often trend systems do pretty well in trends, but then see all those gains, or most of the gains, or lots of gains, or more than the gains, losses, lose those wins in ranges, and they just get hammered in those times. And this system is avoiding that, and I think that is very impressive, that it could avoid these bigger losing streaks, basically, in these range periods. So it does a great job of offense and defense, as I call it, at least. For those that like sports, you might see it this way. And defense specifically, and I think that's why it does keep its heads up in ranges, is that it's flexible trade management, and it changes the parameters of the trade based on the price movements and swings, and therefore very good defense, but also great offense in getting sometimes really impressive bigger wins that can push the account forward. So does great job in trends, but also very good defensive mechanisms when the market is not going our way, and let's say the market is choppy and not moving as quick. And the euro dollar has had lots of different price movements in the last years, from pretty impulsive, and the last 1.5 years pretty corrective. And despite all of that, the results are as I've shown. So it's the market movements. It does well in all of these types of market movements, basically. So here you can see some of the results on other time frames in pairs, so that you have an idea about other things. Now, euro dollar 50-minute chart stands out, and pound dollar 1 hour is the second best, but euro dollar 1 hour, euro yen 1 hour, pretty good results as well. There was 2014 was a year that was slightly less profit, slightly lost actually, sorry, for the euro yen, and the euro dollar, for instance, about break even, depending on the risk you take, right? So, but overall, lots of gains, lots of positive results, and basically you can see that, of course, again, the drawdown goes up as the risk per setup is increased, obviously. So you can change some of the settings. You do get the settings, the default settings. Yes, it is traded fully automated. It is not a scalping system. Once again, here are some of the reviews of traders. Everyone's very excited, and yeah, very enthusiastic. And yeah, we're certainly one of them as well, of course. And here again, you can see the different ways of subscribing. That's 6 months is the minimum, or a year is optimal in our view. You get 25% off. Well, you get 50% off for all these packages, but you get an extra 25 then compared to, because of its length. And you can go for 2 accounts as well if you want to double down and have more options. All right, here's the link once again. And yeah, that's what I wanted to share in the first place. I don't know if there are any follow-up questions in the meantime, Vladimir.
Yeah, there are question. My broker is from Luke. My broker is in the US, offers a maximum leverage of 1 to 50. With that kind of leverage, could I still risk 5%?
I think then in that case, 5% would be too much. I'm not sure what the optimal risk percentage would be. What do you think, Mislav, would be with 50 to 1 leverage? Because we have.
I think it's max 3%, 2 or 3%.
2 to 3%. Yeah. Yeah, because the system is going to have, at times, it's going to have multiple setups open at the same time, multiple trades open at the same time. So that's why you're going to have, with 50 to 1 leverage, and you have 5% risk per setup, that would be too much indeed. So 2 to 3%.
I'll just share my view here, guys. Personally, I always approach to trading this way: increase the risk on the go, meaning start slow, gain some profits, risk from the profits. Don't put your money under immediate, instant, big risk. That doesn't make sense. Grow, gain, then you have your gains, your returns that you can risk with. So basically, your money remains under protection. That's my approach. It doesn't mean it's correct or not. So just an idea. Semi, the link is available in the chat. I cannot put it in the questions chat, the one that is I read from, but the group chat that right now is available in the platform, it's there. Anyway, this link also would be shared in the YouTube video that will be uploaded later on. That's pretty much it. That's all. Chris, thank you very much for your time. I have to say, you guys did fantastic work here. I myself am not a believer, as simple as that, of full automated solutions unless they are supervised and adjusted on the go, always by traders. That's why I don't believe in all these cheap solutions out there. They simply don't work. So well done, really, putting all your knowledge, all Mislav's knowledge, all in that together. With how few years did we have been developing this one, right? It's two or 3 years.
Yeah, it's been 2 years now, almost. I think indeed. Yeah, it's a lengthy process indeed. Thank you, Vladimir, for those kind words.
It's faster to produce babies than robots, huh?
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, indeed. All right, guys. So thank you very much for attending. I hope you understand why I'm so impressed by Chris and Mislav's work here. Great creation, and Chris, Mislav, good luck with the trading, and I hope people will find the same value of that as we do. And once again, thanks for your time. And guys, thank you for being here. I wish you a wonderful trading and all the best.
Thank you, Vladimir. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, Vladimir. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.